Hey everybody, Rachel here with Givebutter. Thanks for joining for another success story from the Givebutter community. Today we are featuring Cannonball Kids Cancer, or CKC. Through an online fundraiser, they raised over $27,000 to fund a clinical trial for pediatric cancer. Pam joins us today to share why they turned to Givebutter to reach their fundraising goals, as well as tips, tricks, and lessons learned along the way so that all of you who are watching right now can fundraise better. Pam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So to start, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your organization, what it's all about.
Okay. So my name is Pamela Ponce. I am actually a pediatrician here in Orlando. And I work with Cannonball Kids Cancer more as like what they would call like an ambassador. And so I got drawn into the organization a few years ago after one of my patients got diagnosed with cancer, and how the organization helps parents of children who were diagnosed, like in the community, just sort of navigate that road. But also they're really big on finding and funding clinical trials when parents hear the words no more options. And so I slowly sort of just went to the fundraising gala. It was a, dress up, look pretty for a night and be fancy. And then slowly, like, as I, found more out about the organization and really believe in their message and what they do, became more and more involved, and have now been working closely with Melissa Wiggins, who's one of the founders. Her son is Cannon, who is the namesake of the organization. Her and her husband, Michael, started the organization shortly after Cannon was diagnosed with cancer, almost 9. He's going to be 9, and he was diagnosed when he was 21 months old.
Wow.
So.
Really impactful, critical mission. It's amazing to hear your journey as an advocate and an ally of that. So how did you get involved with Givebutter in this really successful fundraiser that you just had?
So about this time last year, Melissa was like, I want to run the Disney Marathon. And I said, okay, good for you. And I had no desire. I had run the marathon 3 years ago as part of the Dopey Challenge. I had no desire to ever run 26 miles again. And she was like, no, you should do it with me and we'll do a fundraiser. So I was like, okay. And she's, if you ever get the pleasure of meeting her, she is a just small, petite, but persistent Scottish ball of fire, and will convince you to do things that you said you would never do. And so we started sort of brainstorming about, how can we turn this training, this running, this that we're doing over the next year into something that can benefit CKC. And so we came up with the idea of creating a team of friends who want to run the race as well, and then setting a fundraising goal, and then what's the best way to get that message out there. And Megan Hendricks, who's sort of the data coordinator for CKC, she's familiar with your platform, and in having individual team members, it's great because you can have one general page, and then each person can have their own. So, my story about why I'm doing it maybe was different from somebody else. And so you can kind of see, everybody's why, I guess, as to what, the reason we were fundraising. And so, that's how and the ease of use, honestly, to, create your page, to get it out there, to share. You do not have to be very tech savvy, and can really make it work for you. So that's part of why we chose it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. So just for context, had you done anything like this before? Had you used a platform like Givebutter to fundraise for a race?
I had done, probably years ago, there was a baseball player in Pittsburgh, and he had done a fundraiser with Kutch's crew, and he had used, I think, as a Crowd Rise, which was one of those platforms. I think it's a similar type fundraising platform. So that was where I had my page, and I tried to get money that was part of his main crew page. So it was something similar, but that was the only other time that I've had experience with one of those platforms.
Gotcha. So you're somewhat experienced with peer-to-peer fundraising then. This wasn't your
Yes.
first go around.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, since this wasn't your first time, but it was a new platform, how was that experience for you? Was there anything that was notable or different doing it this second time around for you?
Well, for me, like, I just joined the last time as like a team member. This was from the beginning, I was the one that set up the page,
Oh,
invited the teams, put the picture, like, so I was doing it from start to finish, which was different from that standpoint. And to be honest, like, I'm good with the computers. I mean, I can do some things, but like, I'm not what you would call like an IT specialist or anything, but I
mhm.
found it very easy to set it up, invite everybody, have the stories, add your photos. Like, it was, very, you could make it as detailed as you wanted, or you could make it as minimal as you wanted. And that was, we kind of went in between when in our campaign.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up your fundraiser here so people can get an
Yes.
idea of how beautiful your campaign was. Of course, we're a little biased. Givebutter here, we love your color story,
Yes.
same as ours.
Yeah.
But one thing that really, really stood out to me was definitely your team member pages. I saw a lot more people making use of making those really, really personal compared to other campaigns that I've seen. So I'd be
Yes.
curious to know how you coach people on that. And then the other thing that stood out to me was your story. A lot of times we see stories that are super, super long or broken up between a lot of pictures and videos. Yours stood out because it's just one paragraph, a really cohesive, coherent story that's easy to understand what your mission is, what you're doing with these funds, what the outcomes are going to be. So I read it and thought, well, how could you say no? It was just
Yeah.
such an easy yes reading that copy. So for everyone who's following along, if you're wondering, how can I craft my story section? This is an awesome example. But going back to the team members, how did you kind of coach them or walk them through creating their pages? Because they all looked so great.
So, I mean, initially it was like I sent the emails and then I would get the notification when they signed up. And if you didn't, I was bugging you, like, hey, let's get our page, situated. But I think in general, a lot of it just stems from the cause that we were doing this for. So,
Mhm,
everybody who was on the team had been affected by pediatric cancer in some way, shape, or form. And
mhm,
so it was very easy to create their page and to make it personal to them from the standpoint of just relating to their own story of how it affected them. So I think in general, that's kind of what makes that photo was from the Gold Gala this year,
mhm,
um, that some of us went to.
mhm,
Um, and then just kind of, everybody sharing their page, or if they didn't want to do a page, they just shared, my page or Melissa's page to get the fundraising and get people to donate.
mhm. And you're still getting donations. Just want to point that out on the right-hand side super recently with lots of
Yes.
loving comments and support on your supporter feed. So tell us how you have been so successful in promoting this event. What are the marketing channels that you used?
So, I mean, from what Melissa, who is the fundraiser, or is the founder of CKC, has a huge social media following. Just from she has an Instagram page, and she has her Facebook page, and she's constantly just raising awareness for pediatric cancer. And if you see, just she had done other smaller fundraisers for CKC prior to, she really about a week or two before the actual race is when she went full tilt. If you even looked at to when the donations were, it was literally like we were probably 14 days out, and then they really started kind of rolling in. And that's when we were every single day either sending out a text message to somebody or putting a story on Facebook or Instagram. We made it to where we each mile that we were running was dedicated to a child who is either an angel or is a fighter. And so we made it those stories. So it's like, how could these are the kids we're running for. Here's our why, here's our link, you know because with pediatric cancer, um, only 4% of the NIH budget goes to pediatric cancer research. The rest of it comes from organizations like CKC that from the private sector. So, knowing that you believe in your cause and an organization that really does a good job without a lot of overhead, and the money you're giving goes to the organization and to those clinical trials. I think people see that and know that, and that helped a lot as well.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. So I'm hearing they used email, text, social media, and then you got really specific about naming miles
Mm-hmm.
in honor of different children. And I'm sure that was super inspirational and touching. I've looked at your Instagram and definitely shed a tear as I was looking through. It's just so beautiful and well done. Again, everybody who's following along would definitely recommend checking out their social channels because CKC's social game is strong. So just wondering, any tips, tricks, lessons learned, words of advice that you would give to other Givebutter fundraisers that are using the platform?
I mean, I definitely think like first and foremost is you have to believe in the cause that you're fundraising for. Because if you do and that shows, I think that makes a huge difference in having people that will donate for you. Um, and in the time of a pandemic, like we understood that like, everybody is struggling and you may not have that money. And so we, didn't badger people in any way, shape, or form, but we weren't afraid to ask. And, we were like, we understand. And even if you could give $1 a mile, or skip your latte that day, $5, every little bit adds up. And we had donations from as small as $5, which a donation is never small, to, up to, $2,500, so every little bit counts. And so just being persistent and believing in the cause. And, our platform went for a little over, I think, 8 months from when we started, just slowly but surely kind of building and then really hitting the momentum closer to the actual event, and our end game.
Super helpful words of advice and wisdom for other fundraisers here. Thank you so much for joining us today, for being a part of the Givebutter family. Congratulations on all your success for this fundraiser. We can't wait to see all the incredible outcomes that are going to come as a result from this. So thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you. Yeah, the raising $25,000 funds one pediatric clinical cancer trial. So we're happy about that.
That's amazing. And where can people find you if they want to follow along after watching this?
So for Cannonball Kids Cancer has their own Facebook page, and that's where you can find a lot of their information about galas. If you want to be an ambassador, you don't have to just live in the area to do that and to spread the word. And they also have their website as well. So.
And for everybody else who's following along, please make sure to follow all those places. And also remember to like, share, and subscribe to Givebutter's YouTube channel so you never miss a success story again. Until next week, we will see you then. Happy fundraising. Bye, everybody.